Hello. The late 18th and early 19th century poet and abolitionist and later hymn writer, William Cowper, was mainly known for his hymns. In their day, his poems were famous, but because of his associations with William Wilberforce and with John Newton, because he lived at Olney where John Newton was vicar, he became known as a writer of hymns that searched the very depth of God. Cowper was plagued all his life with fits of deep depression, feelings of feeling far from God, feelings of being abandoned by God. And he cried out to God through his hymns and through his poetry. But sometimes he found reassurance, and one of the most famous of his hymns is God Moves in a Mysterious Way, which contains this wonderful verse: God's purposes will ripen fast, unfolding every hour. The bud may have a bitter taste, but sweet will be the flower, unfolding. The life of faith is often described, broadly speaking, in one of two ways. The idea of a journey of movement Godward, or sometimes away from God. A journey into proximity with God, a journey of growth in faith. People talk about my faith journey. The other image is of being rooted in God, established in God, almost like a seed. Our life is hidden with Christ in God, and from that seed we can germinate, grow, bear fruit, and unfold into the light of God. Particularly poignant for us when a pear tree in our garden, a much loved pear tree in our garden, blew down in the hailstorm a couple of weeks ago. Fortunately, there's a family member who works in forestry, so it was restored. But when it was prone, we were amazed at the depths of the root and the fruit that could be born. Siegfried Sassoon, the poet, was broken by the horrors of the Great War. And in later life, he started to journey towards God. He travelled towards the love of God. But like Cowper, he saw something of unfolding in that journey. He saw himself one evening by the fire and by the lamp, perhaps a bit like this. Gazing at a bunch of daffodils, tightly budded in their jar. All the potential was there, but they had yet to unfold. We know what they look like. You can buy them in springtime gloriously in all sorts of places, a bit like this. And Sassoon was touched to see this image as perhaps one of where he was, tight, contained, but with potential, rooted in the life-giving water of life, and with the hope of unfolding. This is the poem. Tight buds of daffodil, plucked where the wind blew chill in Lent begun. Blessed by this well-warmed room, unsheathe themselves, for whom the lamp's their sun. So, when to prayer I turn, and my dark being discern life locked from thee, unfold it as a flower, that I may know thy power befriending me. And part of our heritage of faith is that ultimate unfolding, that ultimate reconciliation of the whole created order with God, with the power and the love of God spread abroad. And no more wonderfully described in the words of the prophet Isaiah in chapter 55, by this marvellous phrase of the animation and praise and promise of God in all the created order. You will go out in joy and be led forth in peace. The mountains and the hills will burst into song before you, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. Instead of the thorn bush will grow the juniper, and instead of briars, the myrtle will grow.